You're in the Business Insurance Zone with me, Steve Savant, national insurance columnist and financial color commentator. And all this week we're doing our personal performance series with Dr. Jack Singer. And today we're talking about focusing on the process of advice and not the outcome.
When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Well, welcome everyone to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm your host, Steve Savant, and we're broadcasting live to a nationwide audience of financial advisors right here in Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain. And with us today, day 3, Dr. Jack Singer. Hey, Doc.
Steve, nice to be here again.
I feel like I've been sitting on the couch. This is way beyond Dr. Phil, because we're talking about people who actually understand us, our process we're playing. And I never compare myself to an NFL trainer or an NBA, I was watching the Major League Baseball, being compared to that, but the same psychological profiles are there. And, I just want to make sure everybody, if you haven't caught our show, you really need to go back to Monday's show, kind of get the groundwork, because we're going to be talking today about focusing on the practice of advising and not worrying about the outcome, i.e. your comp. But the bigger issue, remember, heads up, I really like when you watch some of the films clips from ESPN with Dr. Jack or Fox Sports or MSNBC, CNN, even Glenn Beck. I mean, you can kind of get the idea, wow, I see why this is transferable, what this can do to help me really elevate my practice, which is our real end game. A little side note, I noticed here on your resume, MetLife, Northwestern, the principal, Transamerica. I mean, he's done some playing. He's just starting to come in. You're just really still kind of new to our world.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years. It's a brand new niche. I was actually talked into it by someone who's in charge of the Major Advisors Alliance in Australia. Because the people in Australia who are in that field are undergoing a lot of stress because the whole country's gone to fee for service. And a lot of them were jumping off the bandwagon. I can't do this, I'll never be able to do it. So he brought me in to train the advisors on how to deal with that self-doubt and how to see that they can be even more productive. So that's really what got me into it. Then Transamerica Capital heard about me, brought me into their high producer meetings where they brought in their advisors from all over the country, and I did it there, and then it sprung off into many other advisor groups.
Well, a lot of people, if you don't know, I met Dr. Jack because we did some blogging and article around the similar blogs and so forth, and I saw him out there and I said, hey, this is somebody we need to have on. Because if the pros are using them, I mean, you're doing private tutorial lessons with NFL players. You're doing it with Major League Baseball players, all different kinds of sports. People are coming to you because you have a way of pulling them into a performance arena that either they're stuck on or they need to graduate to.
Oh, absolutely.
But when I look at this title, when I think of focus, and this is just Steve talking aloud, when I think of focus, I think of I'm going to look at this like a laser beam, but I'm not even sure, I don't even know if I'm seeing correctly. We talk about focus just locking down on a topic or an idea or my client, but I don't even know if I have the right prescription to see right.
That's right, and you don't know whether you're actually looking at what's on the other side of your glasses or if you're focusing on the glass. Two different things. Let me give you a great sports analogy. A professional football player called, and normally when I get a call from professional athletes, they've had a problem and they're worried about the problem getting worse or they're getting fired or sent down or what have you. But in this case, the person called me and told me that he had been an All-Pro for the last 6 years. I said, that's really great. I said, what is it I can do for you? He said, well, I'm getting older. I've been in the league for 10 years and I'm concerned that with my body starting to give in, are there psychological techniques that I can use to compensate for that? And I said, this is tremendous because what you want is some help proactively instead of retroactively. You're not looking at a problem, you're wanting to prevent one from happening. Wow. And so what I said we're going to do is look at the process of you playing your position rather than the outcome. It doesn't matter whether you're an All-Pro or not, that's the outcome. What did you do to get there? So what I had him do was go into his game film days, which were Tuesdays. Every Tuesday during the season, he would look at the film of who he's going to be up against in that particular game. He would then call me or email me or Skype me, and we would talk about what specific strengths and weaknesses he saw in that opponent and what he has done in the past that has worked, or if he hasn't played against him, what he needs to do that will work. And I said, give me the whole technical list of how you're going to do this. This was a lineman I was talking to. And I said, give me all of the technical stuff, the techniques, whatever you've been taught by your coaches, and I will make a hypnotic recording of you visualizing yourself up against that player doing those techniques in the game. And I want you listening to that every night when you go to sleep up until game day.
But I'm just curious, by the name of the opponent, the actual name of the opponent?
The name of the opponent.
Oh my gosh.
He said, here's who I'm up against next week. I've done it before. Here's what didn't work for me. Here's what did work. Here's what his strengths are. Or I haven't worked against him, but here's the scouting report on him. I said, then tell me what your game plan is. What are your coaches telling you to do? And when he would list the game plan, what I'm going to do when he does this and so forth, we made a hypnotic recording. I emailed him the recording. He listened to it every night when he went to sleep, leading up to the Sunday game time. And do you think he made All-Pro again?
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
You just brought up a huge issue in I just wish we had film on our interviews with our clients. I mean, those game films would be telling. I think it would really unravel a lot of our problems and how we're approaching things.
Absolutely. Can you imagine how good that would be if someone had a mentor and they actually filmed this person having sales talks or whatever they're going to be, or client events, and then you could go over the film and say, okay, here's what you did right, here's what you could change a little bit, and then here's something else you did right. That's the way to coach people, by the way. It's called the Oreo cookie.
Okay, so the good part first.
Something they can improve on, and then another good part. Unfortunately, what most sports coaches do is they just talk about the bad.
Do you think that we've talked ourselves out of being a top producer? That's what I hear when you talk like this.
Absolutely. I can't do it. I'm good enough. I'm making enough. Why should I try? It's too scary. And I'm here to change the whole thing. Jack the hammer. We'll jackhammer them.
I love that, and no charge for that.
Right.
Remember, you can contact me on anything about Dr. Jack at thebiz@brokersalliance.com, or call me toll free 1-800-290-7226. And don't forget to watch this show and all our shows at www.brokersalliance.com, right in our on-demand section. We'll be right back after the break with Dr. Jack.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Companies in our business are always touting service, products, and underwriting. And we do that too. But here's the difference. Now enter the world of the elite producer with a value package that cuts us out of the pack. A BD that approves social media marketing of non-FINRA products and doesn't take an override. With the best competition desk in the industry, and for our loyal producers, a true group health plan. No one offers that. Brokers Alliance does.
Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm your host, Steve Savant. We're with Dr. Jack Singer. We're talking about focusing on the advice that you give and not the outcome, i.e. in our world, in parentheses, compensation. Well, when we're talking about our skill sets and really focusing on making sure we understand our game plan. I mean, when we talk about film, I'm thinking about how, that's my fantasy. I mean, if you could film client interaction, you could really understand, oh, here's where I'm really doing well. You said, then you bring up the idea, let's work on this, let's a little bit of corrective, add a little admonition, and then again, another section of, hey, and here's another area you did well. We're always looking for pithy one-liners. I think we're trying to be closers, and we really haven't had the process we're not in a routine yet.
Yeah, you know, the process versus the outcome is critical. Again, if we use an athletic metaphor, an athlete who's focused, say a baseball player, says, I need to move the runner over or the manager is going to be really upset. He's so focused on the outcome, he's not paying attention to what he needs to do in terms of his batting stance, watching the release of the ball from the pitcher, looking at the spin. That's the process of getting a hit. If you're focused only on the outcome of being an advisor, you're missing the boat on the process of what it takes to be there. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the first 4 seconds when you're talking to a client. That's the time that the client is sizing you up in 4 seconds. They're going to decide if they like you. They're going to decide if they think you're telling the truth. They're going to decide if you're pleasant. They're going to decide if you're smart. So you need to keep all of that in mind and develop rapport in those first 4 seconds. That means a big smile, a welcome, perhaps a two-handed handshake, one on the hand and one on the arm, something that's going to make that client feel warm immediately. And if they're a potentially new client, there's a bunch of other things you want to do. Find out about what kinds of churches or schools their kids go to. Maybe you have some things in common. What are their favorite sports teams? You want to develop rapport where that person feels comfortable with you and understands that you genuinely are concerned with the well-being of their family and their family's wealth.
When I think about some of our producers who are really good producers, and you're dealing with people that are already made it to the top of their game, but they might not be playing their personal game. I have a producer that I just talked to who really, at the beginning of the year, was on fire. I mean, it seems like he was just placing business. He has been now in 10 interviews without a sale. He's in a slump. He doesn't understand what he's doing wrong. He doesn't understand, has he changed his mechanics? Is he worried about the outcome? But he is now, he's went from a petrified position to almost a paralysis because he's never experienced a slump. Now, you deal with pros that have went through all this.
Absolutely.
How do you talk to a producer that's going through this?
Well, it's interesting because you used a word, and this was not rehearsed. You just come up with these gems on your own, Steve. I'm very impressed. You said paralysis. We call it analysis by paralysis or paralysis by analysis. If you do too much thinking, you're going to be paralyzed and you can't speak. So what I first teach people to do is to take a break and be compassionate to themselves. We're so less compassionate to ourselves than we would be to our best friend. If our best friend was having the same problem, you would say something like, it's okay, this thing goes in cycles, things will change back again, just take it easy, be more confident. But with ourselves, we say, I've lost the edge, I'll never get it back. What if I fail? And we do this self-talk that's negative without compassion on ourselves. So the first thing we want to do is stop over-analyzing what you're doing. Just take a deep breath and think about what you've done in the past that's been successful. Even if you have to write it down. What have I done in the past that's led to my best success in this career field? The exact details of the process that led to success. And my bet is that many of those steps you've skipped over somehow. You've left them behind. You need to go back and reinvent it. So the future is positive, not negative. It doesn't matter if you've been in a slump. Obstacles are there to be overcome.
I'm thinking about, I love that line because everybody, it seems like it's overused, this I lost my edge, right? That phrase just stuck at me when you were talking. And I'm thinking about that old proverb that says, iron sharpens iron. How can I get over, I know my edge, I just need to sharpen it. Where do I go to get that done?
Yeah, well, you go to somebody like me, or you go to a personal coach who will find out what you're doing that's not appropriate and teach you the exact skill set that you need to actually improve that. And actually at our next show, we're going to talk about a 5-step mental toughness
Yeah, I'm ready for that.
skill set
I'm all in on that one.
everyone can learn.
There are methodologies to this. There is science to this. This isn't just psychobabble. This isn't like I just want to become Norman Vincent Peale, positive thinking, right? This is beyond that. I'm nothing wrong with Norman.
Right.
But I think we're trying to say to ourselves, now is the time to up our game. And maybe I've been investing in everything else, new office furniture, new computers, new everything else. I just don't invest in me.
That's right.
And maybe now's the time to really say, I need to put some serious time in me.
That's right. And again, people tend to be afraid of things and they're afraid to examine themselves sometimes. They're afraid of what they may come up with. And that's really a false fear. You know, a famous professional speaker once said fear, F-E-A-R, stands for false evidence appearing real. About 92% of the things that people tend to be afraid of are things that will never happen. And so what we need to do is understand that we have to take the risk and face ourselves and not be afraid of what we face, because that's the way to improve.
Well, I can tell you, a lot of people struggle with the difference between introspection and constructive criticism. And I don't want to, introspection generally leads to a dead end.
Yeah.
But good construction, that's why I go back to your thing in the first segment. I want to do film day, you know? I want to review film.
Right.
To me, the pros do this when you say that every Tuesday, I'm thinking, oh, Tuesday's film day.
Absolutely.
Tuesday's retrospection day.
Right.
Now, not introspection, retrospection.
Right.
I love all this. I hope you're enjoying this. If you want any of the material on Dr. Jack, how to get to his site, all that, just write me at The Biz and I'll send it to you. TheBiz@BrokersAlliance.com. Don't forget to watch this show, all our shows with Dr. Jack all this week. You can watch it on our on-demand video at www.BrokersAlliance.com. We're going to be on tomorrow with this 5-step. Don't miss it. That's the Buzz on the Biz for today. See you tomorrow.
The Biz is brought to you by Brokers Alliance, a national leader in insurance products, support services, and educational workshops. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.